Welcome everyone to our Tuesday night chat. This is a very important call tonight, and if it's your first time here, a special welcome to you. Our My Self-Reliance call happens every second Tuesday, and for those who haven't met me before, my name's Kelly Wilkins. I'm the founder of My Self-Reliance, and just a little bit about myself. We actually started this movement called My Self-Reliance back in 2021. I lost my job as a special needs educator and found it important to always have a plan B. As a lot of other people were also in the same boat, I wanted to empower people to know how to be resilient in times like this. And I drew back on my experiences growing up on the farm, always having food storage, always having a 72-hour kit prepared, and really being taught that from a young age about being self-reliant, and felt that this was now the time to bring all those learnings back into the fore and educate others. So I do this self-funded. I don't have another job. This is what I do full-time. I educate people. We run courses. I'm a mum of 4, and I homeschool 3 of my little ones, 2 in high school, 1 in primary. And we run workshops, expos. We're putting on a festival this year. Really, it's about bringing community together. And then on a Tuesday, we have guest speakers coming and talk on really important topics. And everyone you see pinned here has been a guest speaker of mine in the past. And I invite these amazing gentlemen back tonight, farmers and experts in common law, to share with you their knowledge about what we're facing today. So before I get into that, I just want to say, in My Self-Reliance, we really have been sharing lots of educational opportunities and workshops as a way of funding what we do here. And now we've kind of stepped it up a little bit to be able to incorporate more community events that are outside of Sydney. I'm in Sydney, and so I run lots of events here, but we really have started a membership program so that we can start hubs in all areas across Australia. And so if you're here for the first time tonight, I want to welcome you and invite you to find out more about what we do at My Self-Reliance, because we're really about educating and empowering individuals and families, and then all coming together. So yeah, I'm really sorry we have reached our limit. So if people I know people are still trying to come in and be on the call. So this is recorded and it will go out to our YouTube channel. You'll find us at Kelly Wilkins /My Self-Reliance, and put in the AU to be able to find us there. And we'll go out on our Telegram channel. If you haven't joined us on Telegram, one of the team will put in the link to the Telegram channel there. And a lot of great information comes in through our Telegram channel and our chat group. So please stay in touch there. We have a website, myselfreliance.com.au, where all of our events are advertised there regularly. And do pop into the chat if you want to join our mailing list, and we would love to have you on our mailing list as well. So please send me an email if you would like to, email to kelly@myselfreliance.com.au, or you can put your email address in the chat and I will add you to that. Now let me introduce you to, starting on my left, we have James Evans. Welcome, James.
Hi. How are you all going?
Is from Vast Harvest Permaculture, and James was really pivotal in the fight against the varroa mite in saving the bees. And so I really wanted James to come on tonight to share with us his experience when we went through all of this, first of all, with the bees, because we really lost that battle with the bees, and we couldn't save as many as we wanted to, and it was a terrible time. And it was only a year or so ago that we went through that. And so it's really important now, as we're seeing the problems with it coming up with the avian bird flu, many of us are already seeing the holes in their argument, but still they will try ways of getting through farmers' front doors and gates, and that's what we want to talk about tonight.
Well,
how do we put a stop before they even get started on culling innocent birds and ruining the lives and livelihoods of farmers? So we do have Murray Fleming, who's from Country Meat Direct, who's a farmer and represents lots of farmers. Welcome, Murray.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kelly.
And then heading up our common law team, well, in no particular order, we have Michael Roll from the LIP and ROD. He is a real expert when it comes to dealing with common law issues in the living in the private. So LIP, living in private. So welcome, Michael. You're on mute there. That's all right.
Oh, there you go.
And we have Bruce, and affectionately known as Bruce Almighty by myself.
Please, Kelly, please.
Can't live that down. I'm sorry, Bruce. Now, Bruce has done some. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me a call and getting on this.
You've done some amazing work, and we'll come back to you in a moment with knowing about the Constitution and our rights. And of course, StevenLivingman from Sydney, and living, as the name suggests, absolutely free and sovereign in his own body. And you know, each of these gentlemen know the courts very well as well, so they're absolute experts.
Hey guys.
So it's so great to have you all here. Now I want to pass the time over, first of all, to James, because I know his time is short. He has living on the land. He's got lots of jobs to get to. But first of all, James, could you please describe to us the situation only a year or so ago with the bees and what you were facing, what you saw happening around the country, as you know, we heard the varroa mite.
Well, it started very similar as COVID, and it was the fear mongering. It was the scare tactics. Look, there's this deadly bug in this country that's going to destroy, wipe out, absolutely eradicate your honeybees. And that was the whole idea behind varroa mite, the most deadliest thing that has hit Australia's honeybee industry. And in reality, the varroa mite would have been here a minimum of a year or two beforehand when they even tested it, and the hives that they tested would have been moved up and down the coast. And if you're not sure, or not knowing what a varroa mite is, it's a mite that every country lives with in this world, that affects. It's a little mite that affects bees. It's like a flea for a bee. There's multiple varieties, and they really struggle to live past 35 degrees Celsius. So we could have had it here for a very long time, but each summer the population has decreased by a lot. So anyway, the government decided, hey, this is a dramatic thing and we need to go and basically deal with it. And they created a point where they so-called found it, which wasn't even the original point they found it. And then they started tracing it out, and every single varroa mite they found, if they found one, they would kill every single bee in a 10-kilometer radius. I don't care if you came, if they had no varroa mite, if they had varroa mite, they would kill your beehive. And on this mid-north coast, we ended up losing over, well, they say 50,000, but I'm saying like 70, 80, if not 90,000 beehives were taken. and they did it in such an inhumane way, and they did not test them. We lost 18 beehives. They will not test for the varroa mites. Quite easy to test for it. They just will come in, and you can't hide your hives. They know you have them because we registered them. This is what they want you to do with your chickens, is register them. And if you didn't agree with them and you wanted to move your hives, you'd be hit with a $1.2 million fine each, and you would hit your company, which we have a company on, which is a farm, would be hit with another $1.4 million fine. So you are trapped when it comes to these. They will hand you the act at your gate. We told them to put it down. Doesn't matter. They will barge in. They will cut your gates down, and like they did to us, are innocent bees. And I really do love my bees. And the thing is, the sound they make is so healing. But when they go and pour a quarter cup, 250 mils of petrol into your horse, it really makes a sound that you will not forget. I'll tell you that, because it is traumatizing. And what they did is the exact same what they're going to do with these chickens, is just make bullshit up and try and wipe out anything self-sufficient in this country. They wanted to get rid of us growers. They wanted to get rid of all of us self-sufficient people. The big people got away with it. 16 companies, 20%, they sponsored the DPI by. And these companies are all the big ones, that the food suppliers in Woolworths, all these one-owned companies. And they literally paid to have our bees killed. And they did it in such a dramatic way. If they had one varroa mite on their property, they would deal with it. They didn't kill any of their bees. We didn't even have one. We questioned the legality of their Biosecurity Act, and within 15 minutes of questioning the legality, we got put in a biosecurity zone, and they came and killed our bees a week later. That's
Why do
how
you
far
think
they
they were able
acted
to
on.
get away with it, James?
Pardon?
Why do you think they were able to get away with it?
I think it was the fear. I think people were so terrified of the fact that this was going to cost much. It was so much. The big companies were so terrified. They were pushing it so hard for the stopping of this, which, we didn't even have, like, no one had evidence that it was here in that first time. It could have been here years beforehand, because the fact is, varroa mite is a 2-year cycle. It really, you're not going to see any demolition of a hive within a year, compared to something we already have here, which is more destructive, like a black beetle. I've personally seen one of my hives, actually two of my hives, lost from black beetle, which just eradicated, and it killed them in a week. That is something we should be worried about, and we manage that. We use diatomaceous earth. We use many different natural ways to kill the beetle, but they didn't even look at that with this. They did not care about any other country's methods of control. We're the only country without it, and they use that as a tactic to just go, we need to eradicate. They knew it was out of their hands, and if they really wanted to stop it, they would have tested from the out and gone in. They would have tested right out, and they would have gone right in, not just trace it, because they trace these bees, this varroa mite, and just killed everything in a wave. They didn't stop it. They just followed it.
What are you seeing that's similar with these tactics that they're trying now with the avian bird?
They're following it, and they're creating these random spots so they can increase the area, and they're going to do this. There's just, it's to a point where, what is real and what is not, with these guys, because really most of it's not. These are just puppets, really, if you look at how the whole game is played. And to put it simply, it really is, where it's a maze.
Now, Bruce has got his hand up, but I got one more question for you before we go to Bruce. So
Yeah.
the scare tactics that they use is not just in the media, is it? They scare you personally.
Look at this. A lot of even meme accounts these days are bought by Disney. They scare you every single way. They use you and manipulate you in every slight fashion. If you think it's good, it's not good. It's bad. They tell you don't look at the sun. No, you're supposed to look at the sun. They tell you go to the optometrist. No, you're not supposed to go to the optometrist. There's many things that they lie to you about. It's inside out. This is their game. It's to manipulate the masses. And if you look into what the whole entire sequence is from back in the day to how it is now, this is all written down in history from 5G to COVID. Everything is written down. Go and look at Behold a Pale White Horse. It's a book written in 1980s from Freemasons. It's literally what we're living in now. And there is no doubt that what they're doing is what they've been telling us for the last 100 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a play-by-play. So, Bruce, you have a reply to that.
Okay, so young James,
Yep.
what do you think your biggest fear is?
Nothing. I know it sounds crazy. I'll do anything, but I will face whatever the hell it is, but I'm going to stand up for what is right. And there is no stopping me. And the thing is, they can try and stop me, but it's not going to happen.
So when they came and
So-
killed you, though, they managed to kill your bees.
They did. And when we're coming up next time, we're going to do it smarter. We're going to do it, this has woken us up to a new world. We're already on the path. We tried. We've got all the original constitution, not the shit they rewrote. We've got everything to do with the plans. We know what they're doing. It's a book. It's a story. It really is, and you can trace it back.
So what would you do differently if they come on your property now and they said, right, we need to check your chickens because you have registered your chickens. You can't unregister them now.
Once a year, they're allowed to come here and they're allowed to check the chickens, or you're supposed to have them here registered on your property. But if you take them off your own animals on that day of the year, you do not have to register them. That is the one day that they look. It's a recycle. If you take them off, you get rid of them, you hide them. I don't have animals. Well, he didn't have animals on his property that day. You bring them back in. I can't remember which day it is exactly, but that is one of the only ways we're looking at right now. Besides unregistering them completely or not registering them, like you've got to think outside the box. This is what we're coming into. Is the 15-minute cities, the 2030 is it's really inevitable. In our books, we can try, we can push, but it's not unless all of us get together and unite, then something's going to happen.
Do you have how many chickens do you have? What kind of a job is it to be able to move your chickens?
Oh no, it's not much, and it's also not much to breed chickens or I eat the roosters. I everything here is self-sufficient. I eat our own chickens. We do that. I cut them up and everything like that. There's nothing wrong with that. So what it comes down to is if they disappear, then they disappear. If they're not there, they're not there. No one knows. It's about living outside the box. It's no one needs to know you have chickens.
All right. So James, I want to try and help you out here because I think that you've got, and this is the problem that I see, and I see with a lot of things, right? Number one is I think you're on the right path, but the fear is through what I think is through lack of knowledge, right? Removing your chickens, why should you have to remove your chickens, right? Are they causing any harm or damage, right?
No.
So I think what Michael's putting up in the chat box is very pivotal to actually be able to live this way. And the whole part is if it's registered, right, this is where it comes under Admiralty law, is that you are on that registry, right? If they're not registered, right, that means anyone can take your chickens.
Yeah.
So you just got to go on a different registry.
Yeah. Just similar.
Right.
You're talking
Right.
about similar to driver's license, like going through the UN or like anything like that, going through a different alternative way to
Correct,
register.
right?
Yeah.
So first things first, put one of these up on your gate, right? Now, Michael Schultz or Michael Rolfe, he actually sells these things, and it's got everything that you put on for a trespass sign.
Yep.
Okay. The second thing I think you should do, my friend, and all farmers should do, is read the Biosecurity Act.
Oh, we've well
Right?
aware
When you
of the
read the Biosecurity
They
Act,
try
even
to
though it's
hand that
600.
to us. We're at the gate.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
you see, the whole thing is it's fine that they hand it to you, but you need to know it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you need to know Division 6, the information of gathering by a biosecurity officer. Section 54, who may ask the question. Section 62, what's the form of a biosecurity control order? Who's consenting to the biosecurity order? Who's allowed to do the inspection? Section 318. Section 322 onwards up to 328. And then section 333 is entry and exit requirements. Okay. So I've just spent 20 minutes just before we came on here, just reading it, and I've got it on the back screen and that. When you know that they have to give this to you in writing.
Yeah, they do.
Before
Yep.
they actually come on board. Right? Again, that's one side of it. Right, is actually understanding the Biosecurity Act. The other part is removing yourself from their registration and basically registering or not even allowing them onto your property. Remember, the Biosecurity Act says they have to have in writing, right, the information of what disease is on your property. And if it's there for inspection, they're supposed to say, right, we're testing it, and you need to see those results, right? So I think that the biggest thing that we're seeing is that this was exactly the same that happened with COVID. The same thing happened with the bees, and now they're doing it again with the chickens. And yes, I agree with you. Whether
They
it's
did 100
Big
years
Pharma
ago.
or whoever it is,
No, look at the 1800s. It's just a reset. It's the exact same thing they did 100 years ago.
Yep, allegedly.
Bruce,
Allegedly, it's clearly evident, but yeah.
Right. But I think if you arm yourself with more knowledge, that gives you the ability to, actually challenge them instead of actually answering their questions and being on the back foot.
It's about picking your fight, It's like, yeah, I could
You're at
drive
your
a
front
car with
door,
no
you've got to
plates
fight.
on and have the right stuff. But, when it comes to commercial purposes, I can't do the same thing. Is that correct?
No.
Are you sure? Because
I had to work for the New South Wales Police, and they wanted me to be triple jabbed, and I still didn't work for them, and I still got contracts with Transport for New South Wales, and I'm still not jabbed, and they still wanted it. And even through the middle of it, where you weren't allowed to do anything, and yet I was an essential worker, I still didn't do it, and I said, let's go to court. So I've kept my contracts. I ripped up $160,000 in front of the New South Wales Police. And I said, let's go to court, let's go next door. And 2 weeks later, they dropped everything and I got to do their job. So there are ways around it. And the difference between myself and Steve and Michael is that I'm still working for the New South Wales government or the Australian government with contracts in my own business, but I'm trying to fight from the inside and challenge their directions or orders, right? Steve does it as a living person, does really well, and Michael's just totally gone out of the whole system altogether and living in private. So the three of us, we just do things differently, and we have, for me, I have great respect for the other two, and no one's right and no one's wrong. It's about who's just getting the result. And
Yeah.
what I'm seeing with you is that you are on the right path, my young friend. You just need to get a bit more ammunition behind you, right, of knowledge, and you'll absolutely, if you ask the questions, have you got a written document that you're allowed on this property, and are you following all your protocols, right? But the first things first is a trespass notice,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
It's
yeah.
all by consent, and it's $100 a minute if they want to talk to you. So you've already given them a fee.
Guys,
Yeah.
can I just jump in for a
There's-
second?
Yep.
I think, sorry, James and guys, I think we have a lot of people on the call that are probably farmers and, you know, not familiar with the common law, whether it be by Steve, what Michael does, or you yourself, Bruce, right? Is there a possibility that you guys, because there is a lot, you guys been doing this for years, right? There is so much to learn. We're all laymen in this. We really wouldn't even know to start. I'm not a farmer. I have backyard chickens, right? But we don't even know where to start with that. Is there a possibility that, because this is becoming, so first the bees, then the chickens, what's next, right? Is there a possibility to put something on for these people, whether be assume anywhere where you can guide our farmers and our people where to start, even if it's just a fact sheet, you know, BioAct, get used, read, learn, because by the time, I have to say, you know, our farmers are keen to learn this, it'd be too late. They need a kickstart, and for that they need you guys help, because you are our go-to people that live in what you're talking about. We don't even know where to start.
But this is why the call, right? This is why we're on tonight. So the place to start, and what Bruce is saying, get yourself the no trespass sign. We will end up at the end of the night. You may, disclaimer, have more questions when you leave this call than when you came in, but that's great, because now you will have a place to start after this. So James, I feel like this is a great conversation, because James is already ahead of a lot of the game with a lot of farmers. He's already awake to what's going on, and he already knows. And now we're hearing from Bruce about how he can go the next level, which is so, so good. A lot of farmers who are on tonight might have just been hearing about this for the first time, or they might know, but might feel like they don't have the power. And so I think Bruce is doing a great job of explaining about how you get the power back in your court. So
Just to add on to that, Kelly,
yeah,
the hardest thing is, right, and I think Steve and Michael will shake their heads on this one and agree, is the hardest thing is that we live and breathe this stuff. And it's not until people get put into a corner till they start asking for help, and it's almost too late. So the best advice I've got for all the farmers and stuff like that, and I think to keep it super simple, right, is number one, learn your trespass law. Understand who's allowed on your property and how they've got the power to come onto your property, right? Number two, understand the Biosecurity Act. Now, if every person here has to spend 3 hours reading that act, so be it. But we can't do it for you. We can't all of a sudden get to Queensland or Western Australia to fight the fight. Every person needs to be empowered themselves and fight it for themselves. This is the problem, is that we've all gone back to sleep. Right, and everyone needs to empower themselves. And the Queensland government, whether they respect the law or not, if you just understand the power to arrest without warrant any government official and give that to them and say you're under arrest, film them, right? This is where you have to push back. And James, I'm going to say, you got to, everyone and all farmers, you got to stop answering their questions, and you need to be the one answering the questions. Anyone who asks questions has the power of a conversation. People who make statements, you're always on the back foot.
Well, like,
Right? And I'm trying to just keep this as simple as possible.
see, when it came to the
Right?
bees,
And it's hard to,
you'd
was
put
that sorry?
when it came to the bees, you'd basically we asked, you know, took all the public questions, went to Lloyd Kingham, which is the director of the Viral Response Team, and we asked him from the common law shit and all that. And I'll tell you, for the first hour, this is supposed to be an hour meeting. They're a professional at running you around the bush. They will tell you shit, but the last 2 hours, because we got another 2 hours out of him, you start learning a bit more. But yeah, I get what you're saying with that. And I also wanted to quickly ask you, with the biosecurity signs, so we have a biosecurity property, so we have signs out, basically, you know, power guys, anything like that
Yep.
normally have access to your property can't have access unless they call your number, supposedly.
Yep.
But what do you think of those?
Well, number one, you've consented with them, so you've already contracted with them because you've got their sign up.
Well, yeah, we
So-
have the
So
signs
that's
on
half.
one.
That's
but
half
yeah.
the battle, right?
Well,
That's
we
half the
didn't have
battle.
them up. We didn't have them up with the bees.
Yep.
That was so we've got them in the garage. We've put one up on another gate that's not visible from the road, but we haven't actually gone through and put them up fully. So it's one of those things that
Yep.
we haven't been certain about. But no, it'd be
Yep.
interesting to ask you about.
So
it.
James, I'm gonna do a little demonstration here, and I want you to see something. Okay,
Yep.
this is gonna and this is how, if people were like this is how it would work. Michael, can you please unmute yourself, Mr. Rolf? Can you please just tell me what is the clause in the act of arresting a public official?
It's the Crimes Act, 1914.
What section?
It's Section 13 gives you the power of the Commonwealth.
Set up some beautiful systems that are, well, I call them constitutional, where you can register all kinds of things, right? And it holds up as long as you know what you're talking about. You need to go through the paperwork to back yourself up. These things come crashing down if you just do it, whether it's rego plates or your own rego plates, and you will be badly hurt by ignorant police if you don't have the right paperwork with you all the time. So if you want to do these kind of things, be prepared and be ready, and you can roll on through and they don't touch you. But it takes work on everyone's own part, and everyone wants everything done for them. So it comes down to what you're willing to do and what kind of life you want and what kind of place you want to leave here for your kids and all that. We want the Constitution back for the people, because they've got a corporate constitution. They've replaced everything with corporation. And so you're right, they'll just come for you. If you're a big businessman, lots of chickens, even one cow, you said, or someone said.
Yeah,
yeah,
in
right.
terms of a property identification code, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there's no way around it. You can't even kill your own cow; you'll be jailed.
Well, you
Right.
can. You can kill. You can kill and process your own animals, but
Tell
you
me
can't,
more.
you can't sell.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You can't do business,
Yes.
right?
In terms of the moral dilemma, it's so nuanced, right? Because a lot of farmers enjoy producing a lot of food because they're feeding people. But then I guess for them to, you know, stay true to, you know, the cause, they might have to scale back. Interesting.
They can scale back and make more money because they get the bottom dollar when you sign up with these things. Look how much they're paying, like how much we pay for gas and our Australian gas, and how much the Chinese pay for it. It's a rigged system. Look, Woolies and Coles, they control the prices, and the farmers are going backwards. So that's why I'm saying this is where the morals come into it, because they're never going to be nice to us, because they don't care about people. They only care about corporations. So that's the moral thing that we have to work out ourselves. And we're all going to come to that point where we're going to scale down and make more money from that amount than what we used to make from another amount, because there's no other way to go for us.
So, Murray, I'm just going to say I'm exactly where you are and with a lot of farmers are. So here I am. I work for Transport for New South Wales and other government things. And I was only talking to Michael last week and Steve this afternoon about this. So I'm taking one of my company vehicles, I'm deregistering it from the Transport of New South Wales, and I'm going to register it with the Royal Registry. Okay. So that means I'm testing the waters with a process, right? So yes, I've got multiple trucks and stuff like that, and quite a large, a lot of equipment and stuff like that. So before I dive in and go the whole hog, I'm going to test the water. And the biggest thing is, I think that as a farmer, you may need to have another section of your farm that you can actually fence off and have X amount going through the Royal Registry, right? And I'm saying this deliberately because I think this is really the key that we need to trial, and we need to get the numbers behind us. That's the only thing that's stopping this whole country, is that what happens with, let's just call it the freedom movement, and Kelly, you'll be, true to this. Everyone thinks what they're doing is true and correct, whether it's Hoodie, Rod Cullerton, any of them, right? They all think that there is the only way. What we all need to do is just acknowledge that everyone's trying to do what they think is best, and let's find something that works. And who's ever got the success, that's what we're going to trial. So I know the work that Michael's put into the Royal Registry and stuff like that. And when you understand it from a barrister's or from the corporation's point of view, the registry is what's killing us all. So if we just get onto a different registry, you're on a registry. So you are,
That's it. That's all it is.
you have, your goods are on a registry. It's not like lost goods at sea where anyone can pick them up. And that's why they need to have you registered, so they have control. It's a false sense of security that you think you need to have a birth certificate, you need to have a marriage certificate, all this stuff, a driver's license, even on the front of your registration papers. It says that you are the registered operator. Does not mean that you're the registered owner. Right? There's so many things. And when you really look into it, it is critical. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a small piece and I'm testing and trialing it. And I want to get pulled over by the cops. I want to have that discussion with them. I want to have that interface with them. And I want to learn from it. Now, am I going to make mistakes, and have I made mistakes along the way? Yep, mistake. Have a look at the word, M-I-S, it's a mistake. What have I learnt? Instead of saying I failed. And that's what we need to do. And, Kelly, well done for doing these things so we can share this stuff. But I think, Murray, you need to set up something different, something small that you're willing to lose, a bit like putting $10 or $50 in a poker machine. You're willing to play with it and learn something. Right? And if you can protect 50 chickens out of 200,000 or 200 chickens out of 200,000, good. That's what we need to do. Because if the paperwork works, that means you then just put 100,000 straight into there and you go in 50-50 and they can't touch it. So you want them to come and try and see if they can get it. And once you put the paperwork in front of them, and this is what you got to be prepared to do, get out of the magistrate's court. I know this is not going to sound right to you, Michael, but if it goes to court, get out of the magistrate's court and go in front of a judge. Right? And you've got to learn this. You've got to learn this shit yourself.
That means a higher court.
That's all that there. That's it. It's a higher or a district court. Sorry,
the higher jurisdiction.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that the farmers need to do, you're all good at raising chickens. I was good at, repairing cars and working on the roads and that. And being a business owner and going through what I believe in and what's happened to me personally through the government, I've learned this. But I'm dabbling in something completely different to these two other guys, where I'm still in the system, playing in the system, getting money from the system, and still paying between 60 and 75% in tax. I want out of that shit, right? I pay more tax than probably what most people earn, right? And that's what I'm dealing with, and again, with councils, I'm trying to build a house. I've got some bullshit terrestrial biodiversity mapping because I can't chop down a couple of gum trees to put a shed, right? And council came when I was chopping down trees and they were trying to issue me a $6,000 fine. And I said, I'm allowed to clear in a high bushfire zone 25 metres from my boundary. And they go, but the council rule says different. But as our constitution says, state overrides federal. So state
No.
overrides council.
No, federal.
Oh, sorry, federal, the other way around, yeah. Other way around. Sorry, thanks, Steve. So again, you learn these things and you have lessons along the way. So I just think what I think from your point of view, and I know Michael's going to say something different, and I hope he does, right? But I think to play in the system so you can sell it commercially to shops and stuff like that for the short term, you need to set up something that you can actually trial. And we need to get this Royal Registry really hammering and going so we don't deal in their crap. We're dealing in I'm going to get this, the people of the Commonwealth, which is us, the people. Remember, we're the Commonwealth and we vote people into the Parliament. They are not the government. We are the government. And the moment we change our language and we stand by what we believe in, that's how we're going to beat these. I'm trying to be polite. It's not often I do it, Kelly.
Got it.
But
Parasites.
Let's
With
I want to hear from Michael.
so
Tell
do
us,
I.
yeah, we haven't heard. Michael's been a champion in the chat and explaining everything as we go. But Michael, I want to give you a minute to share with us about living in private and how you set up these things and what, getting started.
Oh, well, live in private is teaching people. It's a place to learn and to get assistance to navigate through this corporate system that we're operating in. We've done a lot. We have gone leaps and bounds with live in private. It's a lot of organisations have aligned themselves to use the resources of live in private. We have a huge library of videos, education material, template letters, all sorts. As far with Murray's situation, it's easy fixed. It's not that bloody complicated. Seriously, it's not that. You can talk about common law and the Constitution and everything, but it doesn't get listened to here in this country because it's all corporations running the show. And it's all, if you understand a bit of law merchant or mercantile law and understand contracts and trust law, then it's very easy to navigate it through all the issues that you're facing. Living men don't answer to corporations, full stop. Corporations can't tell a living man what to do. That's why they created a fiction of yourself. That's why most Australians are paying income tax. My LIT members, they're not paying income tax. Well, some are still because it's still going through the process. Income tax is voluntary. That's how simple it is. The ATO even supply the form for you to fill out and hand into them so you get paid your full gross wage from now on. It's not that difficult. It's understanding the rules that they're bound by, and then what you do is you apply those rules for yourself and you just reverse everything they've done. And when you get enough Australians doing it, especially with the bills of exchange, when you get enough Australians doing it, then that collapses their whole system. But you're also putting into practice by default the Constitution 1901, your inalienable rights as a free man to do as you want and not be told what you can do by a corporation or their thugs. It's as simple as I can explain it, right? But in your case, you can practice your business exactly the way you are doing right now. You can still sell to all your whatever suppliers you've got to supply to, whatever customer. That doesn't change. Under contract law, it doesn't change. You got an ABN number. That's all you need. Stop answering to the tax office. Stop answering to the bloody council. Stop doing all that nonsense. Cancel everything you got. Just use the ABN number to trade with the straws. Basically, that's what we call. If you didn't, do you understand the straw man concept, Murray?
Oh, I've heard of it, but I'm not across it properly.
Okay. Quick lesson. Quick lesson. When you were born, a birth certificate was created. Your mother signed it, made you a ward of the state. The state then gave you back to your parents to raise the way they see fit. The GovCorp see fit. Your parents were obliged to raise you, tell you how you should be educated, how you be brought up, how you be educated, how you learn, and they teach you how to learn their system. So when you get a job, you get a tax file number, and then you have to pay income tax. And then as you get older, you get married, so you have to sign a marriage certificate. This is the nonsense you've all been brainwashed to do. You've got to stop. It's crap. You don't need it. They know this. I test it every day. I have 6,000 people doing what I do. They're testing it. We're getting results because we bloody know what they're up to and they don't like it. Hence why I'm constantly under attack. But if I had 1 million Australians stand up and stop paying bills, did bills of exchange on every bill coming through the mailbox, their whole system collapsed. It's all about the money. Stop paying them out of your pocket. You don't have to. The country's bankrupt. It's been bankrupt since 1966. Now, if you and I were bankrupt and we carried on business as normal, we'd be in prison. So all these mongrels should be in prison. And that's before the COVID mass homicide, okay? So you've got to take a stand. You've got to start to grow up as an adult. Stop being an adult child with your hand out. Oh, please, sir, give me more. Stop being bribed by every nonsense on the media TV. I haven't turned the TV on for bloody 4 years. Thank God. That's the bottom line. They need your name. They need you to be that capital name. That's why they refer to you as Mr.
And nobody is a name. Hey, Michael, nobody is a name, as you know. How can we be a name? We're a man or a woman, right?
Yeah.
This is how they trick us so easy. Are you Stephen Butcher? That's allegedly my surname. Right? And then I say, are you saying I am a name or that I have a name? I was like, I have many names. You can call me Dad. My mates call me some terrible names. You want me to call me that if you want? And that shuts them down. But if we don't say nothing, we just get contracted, right, Michael?
Steve, let me finish, mate. Let me finish.
Yeah, I will.
Your surname, it's not yours. You do not own it, but you're using it. While you use it, you pay. While you use it, you're in servitude. You're a slave to their system. You can't use your name the way they write it on paper. First, middle, surname. That is their trust they created from your birth certificate. Everything is in that name. You own nothing. As the living man, you own nothing. So you've got to reverse it. What you do is they usurped the crown. They buried it. They got rid of our common law. They got rid of our inalienable rights to own property as living men and women. What we have to do is usurp the usurper. Use the same way they stole from us. We use the same tools, the same laws to get it back. That's how it works. And it's working for LIP. It works for the Royal Registry de Jure. And the Royal Registry de Jure, by the way, has a litigation department that just loves to sue. We sue everybody. We don't defend anyone. We don't need to defend. We're living men and women. We are the supreme authority, supreme jurisdiction on the land. We even tell prosecutors when he's being brought, you know, when the magistrate builds him up like he's the crown. The crown of what? Their
Now,
crown. The crown,
Michael, can I just interrupt you there for a moment?
Yeah.
Because what we're seeing a lot of is there's a little bit of disconnect, right? There's how do we be how do we be sovereign? We have to go through those processes.
You don't need to be sovereign.
When they lie to us, right? And when they serve up papers and they blatantly put out lies, you know, there's a protection mechanism that we have to. So my question is, if we go through all of these processes to under living in private, can that really protect us when they want to come and knock on the door and start to take away our poultry? So people feel like, okay, they've still got the upper hand. Do they?
Well, okay. It's a numbers thing, isn't it? If you've got these a-holes coming up to your property telling you, demanding you they have got automatic access to your property and everything, technically under law they have, because you don't own the land. It's not yours. It's not in your name.
But the trespass laws is for the occupier. It's not for
I was going to get to that. I was going to get there. I've got to set up a picture. The land's not yours. They usurped the crown, the royal crown land title. We're all proprietors in fee simple of our land. It was granted by the royal crown. Not even the king or queen can put their foot on your property without your consent. But then by stealth and not educating us about our rights and our property rights, they decided to fool us and change the paperwork so they own the land. That's why they foreclose on you, because you think you own it. You don't. And so long as you think you own it, you can't beat them. And that's where LIP comes in. LIP educates people. It teaches them very quickly what their rights are and what the law is an ass, because that's what it is. Their laws are not laws. They don't exist. They're statutes. Statutes are rules and mandates. They're not law. They're only law if you accept them as law. So if they're statute, that means they're a policy. Our police, or their police, are policy officers. They are not police. And if you don't believe me, Google Crown's Proceedings Act, 1958, Section 23. It's very clear they have no immunity under the Crown. So they're nobody. They're corporate thugs. They are not our police. And every time you invite police onto your land, you're contracting with a corporation. You're allowing them access to do whatever they bloody want to you.
So got some quick questions, some rapid fire questions for you, Michael.
Yes.
What is a royal registry?
The Royal Registry is just a record office. That's it. It's just Royal Registry. It's just a record office. It doesn't mean the king owns your shit. It's just a record office. Many decades ago, there used to be Queen's registration offices by the hundreds in this country, by the hundreds, right? And they were a place you went when you had something of property and you wanted to make sure that that property remained yours and no one else could make claim that it was theirs. So you went to the Queen's Registry Office and you registered with the royal seal. It's yours. No one can argue. No one can take you to court and say, hey, that's mine. He stole it. You can't. You've got a registration. It's like a bill of sale. proof of sale means you own it. Well, that's what the Royal Registry, because the Royal Registry gives you crown protection of your property as a living man or woman. The
So let me explain for people so they can get the connection. So Michael runs the Royal Registry of de jure so that you can register your property, so you've got that record, and then you don't have to go to the government to register something and then they own it and then they control it.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. If it's not registered in their system, they can't take it. That's property theft. You can sue them for that. That's the difference. If it's registered in their system, like your car, with a government plates on it, they own the car. It even says so on their vehicle registration certificate. It says. Right?
Okay. So what if they show up tomorrow on our doorstep, or they say we're coming and we need to inspect your chickens? What words do we say? Give us a line or something that we can just hold them off while we get there.
You're trespassing, remove yourself from a property. Because even a straw has rights. Don't forget, a straw as a person is a fiction. It's a corporation or a trust. It's a thing. It's an it. It's not you, the living man. So that's why they always refer to persons, right? We are people. People is who we are, Commonwealth people in the preamble. United as one, indissoluble. Means no one can change that fact. But they did. And they did it through our ignorance. Because ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? They got us guilty until proven innocent. When the law says we are innocent until proven guilty, but they don't want us to learn that. They want us to believe the opposite. Everything they do is the actually opposite of the truth, of the facts. So if they come onto your property, you must declare you're trespassing. Remove yourself from the property immediately. Have it recorded. You have to give them 3 warnings. You got to say it, repeat 3 more. Don't accept anything they say. You have no business having a conversation with an idiot, because otherwise you're an idiot. And if you don't have a conversation with them, then you're not joindering to the name they keep referring you to. You got to pretend you don't hear anything they say. You just want them off the property. Piss off. Get off my property. Because whatever order they have is addressed to a person. It's a fiction. It's an it. And I can guarantee you, no one put their full name there and signed it, because that would make them liable for a lawsuit. So they make sure that the corporation sent them. So you sue a corporation, an it. This is how dastardly the whole system is. But at the end of the day, 3 warnings, and after 3 warnings, you have the right to defend your property.
So that's the first thing. Get your no trespass signs, at least 3 of them on your property at all the entrances and exits. And then 3 times you can tell them to leave. And then also ask for their name, right? If they don't leave, then
they must identify. Yep. But your gate should be shut. Don't leave your gate open. If you've got a fully fenced property, keep them shut. If they climb that fence, they've trespassed. You can sue them. There's good money in it. Right? Every time.
And the trespass laws also say, even if there's no fence, it's to the boundary of your property. That's all in the trespass laws as well.
Yeah,
but the fence,
they have the right to come to your door. They do have the right to come to your door if it's not fenced, and if it's open, they can still walk in. They have that legal right. It's under common law. But
right.
If you confront them, or they come to your front door, you can immediately tell them you're trespassing. Leave the property immediately.
What defines?
So have a trespass sign on your door as well. That's an important bit of information there.
I got one in my power box on the house. I don't pay electricity. They're not even game to come and open it and read the meter on it. They don't, because it's trespass. It's serious shit. It comes up. It's the only time you can use common law.
Murray had a question.
Yeah, Michael, what defines open? Does it have to be locked or is closed? You don't like
if it's closed.
If the gate is closed, but it's not locked, it's closed. Okay.
If they have to open that gate without your consent, or they climb the fence like the cops do, they climb the fence, that's instant trespass. But if you leave a gate open because I'm just going to run down the shop for a few minutes and I'll come back. If you leave that gate open and while you're out, they appear at your property, they can walk straight in. But they have to go to the door. They can't. But if they don't get an answer at the front door and they got access to your back door, they're free to go around and out the back door until they're told to stop. And then told you're trespassing, reverse your direction. Get off my land. And whatever they're waffling on, mate, I have no interest in what you've got to tell me. Piss off, you're trespassing, get off my land. And they will walk. Because after 3 times, you can sue them. There's plenty of case law precedent in place. One is the Parramatta Criminal Court, where a parking officer from the council put a parking ticket on someone's windscreen and used the windscreen wiper to hold it there. The whole matter went to court. They took it to court believing it was because he didn't pay a parking fine. No, the guy went there because he was countersuing and he sued successfully for trespass. The parking inspector touched his property without his consent. That's trespass.
And I've got a no trespassing sign on my driver's side passenger window.
Yeah. The car should have.
Window to stop them getting me out of the car.
I have one of my own A4 size trespass signs, the aluminium ones, in the door. Whenever I get pulled over for a cop, straight in the window, when he comes to it, it goes, "What's that?" I said, "You better read it. They're my terms and conditions of the contract." If he doesn't like it, then if there's no crime, then I'm free to go. I'm always tell them I'm free to go. I don't ask them.
And Michael, in your group, do you have anyone that has a food business of any description at the moment?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Kelly's in there. Kelly knows. You can talk to her about it. She's active in there. She's been around. She knows all the templates and all that. I was all different walks of life in there. All different walks of life in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, do you have anyone that's buying and selling food that is trying to operate under your suggestions?
Well, there's no try. They just do it.
Yeah.
Our Royal Registry is unique. It's back under the Crown. And with Royal Registry comes with freedom. You're living private, but you're living free. You're banking. We even have our own bank system where you're banking and trading like you are now through a corporation bank who keep track of every dollar you spend and save. That's why they know everything about you. That's why you get taxed to the hilt.
So
right? With ours, there is none. It's all trading free. There is no tax. There is no nothing. And GovCorp can't do shit about it. It's legal. It's using their system. They can't argue, otherwise their whole system collapses if they want to take me to court. No problem. Let's go. Let's find out why the rules don't apply to you when you're actually forcing everyone else to follow it. You can't be told or do anything against your will. You've got to understand that. If it's against your will, it null and voids everything they're doing by default. That's the same with someone coming on your property. If they're forcing themselves with threat and enforcement, that instantly under law of contract is null and voids the whole matter. There's nothing to discuss. Piss off my land. You're trespassing. Get off. It's a simple.
I wish some people tried that during the bee
I keep telling the bee people. They don't listen.
No, that's so sad. I can't understand why people would line up their own bees. It's just like telling them, So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Why expand on the Royal Registry and PMAs?
The PMA is a good concept. The concept of it's PMA, all right? We are, I guess, in a sense, you could say we're a PMA as well, but
What does PMA stand for?
Private Members Association.
Just thought I'd throw that in
A
case
private
someone didn't
members
know.
association. I'll give you an example of what a private members association is. It's a way to avoid the GovCorp system. So, for example, you're a farmer who wants to harvest his own meat and sell it to somebody else. You get a customer coming onto your property wanting to buy some meat. So what you do is, well, you can have that leg as a donation and just give me a donation back instead. Now you haven't made a sale. If you don't make a sale under laws of contract, it's not recorded. It's not necessary. There's no tax or nothing applicable to it. If you're in a cafe, a coffee shop, you go in for a coffee shop, that's PMA. And they say, oh, I would like a coffee, please. Okay, thank you. And they'll have a donation amount there. It's a donation. You're just offering a donation. You're not buying coffee. You're donating to them. It's like when the Lions coffee caravans you see on the side of the road sometimes when you want to do a quick pit stop. It's charity donating. They're offering free coffee, but, you know, there's a donation. We'd appreciate it.
It's actually a lot deeper than that, if I may contribute. I actually, something I actually do know something about.
Yeah.
May I, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do want to stay on topic of the farmers as well.
Yeah,
So
exactly. We've set up the PMA so that it can protect the farmers. Now, the PMA is set up under international law and under Section 109 of the Constitution. Commonwealth law is above state law, but international law trumps Commonwealth law. So we're actually under international law, and recently there's been 3 court cases that validated that. But when you set up a PMA, then you trade between members, and yes, you do transact in dollars or whatever currency you want. And now we've set up the PMA so that we've actually made the same distinction as the living man and the straw man between the land and the title over it. So when we've got the property immunity, the immunity is over the land and they can do what the hell they want with the title. And we've had that validated by some fairly interesting and highly ranked people. So the PMA is actually a solution for this, and we've set it up right across the country exactly for this reason, to protect the bees, to protect the chickens, to protect the people who want to just sell their livestock directly. It works. It's been around for a very long time, at least 150 years that we know of. If you look at your movies in the USA, the old gangster movies, those gangster movies, they had their drinking houses. They were PMAs. The USA, they're set up under the Constitution. In Australia, we set them up under international law, and we have immunity. Now, we've got our own trespass signs, but the distinction with them is that they say protected under international law. It's a big deal. It makes a significant difference. I'm aware of the luminaries I'm in contact with here in the audience. I've been watching you guys for a long time, but this is something that we have done because there appeared to be nothing else that actually worked. And when the police turn up at your front gate, or when the council turns up, they just barge in. But under international law, that's UN Resolution 3166 they've just violated. It's a whole different ballgame.
Ray, is that under the UCC?
No.
What's it under?
We set it up under the law of nations, and we set it up under the, well, look, I can't tell you that because I'm not the one who writes them, but it's not under the UCC.
UCPR or something like that?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
It sounds like it could have some. Sounds like it could have some other traction. So it may be something to.
Yeah.
No, for me anyway. I just think it's another avenue that we just can explore and have a look at it, Ray. So.
Well, we've got legal precedent in very recent days. Senator Rennick was just kicked out of the LNP pre-selection. He went to court over it, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we've got no jurisdiction." A PMA. The courts have no jurisdiction over a PMA. and they referred to previous rulings.
Yeah.
So this is actually out there. We're now going for those rulings. I only just found out about this, but we now have established that there is legal precedent for the strength of the PMA in the Australian court system.
So Murray, as you can see, there's many different versions that
Many.
I think farmers can actually go down. The hardest thing is what I'm seeing on your face is the confusion and the overwhelm of all the knowledge that's out there. And as you can see, everyone, Ray included, has passion in how to actually make this work. And again, and I've seen in the comments and stuff like that, how do we actually support the farmers in this? I'll go back to what I said in the very beginning. The biggest thing you can do is actually get the ammunition of knowledge. Learn this stuff. Like Ray's got, you can hear the passion in Ray's voice. You can hear the passion in Michael's voice and Steve's voice. And, you know, and Kelly's doing the same. I mean, as a single mum and whatever, the biggest thing we all need to do is to actually get something that feels good to you, right? And feels right to you. It doesn't mean it has to, it's just whatever feels right to you is, I think, and is my belief, is what's right. And again, everyone's going to have different feelings depending where, you know, how much money they've got, how much property, what they own, what they don't own. Everyone's going to be different. The biggest thing is, the biggest power that you've got is knowledge. And the thing is, it's about, and I put it in there before, you've got to unlearn what you have learned through the years to learn what's actually right. And you've got to be able to see, I'm just going to say it, the bullshit that gets fed to you on a daily basis that you think that's what you have to follow instead of knowing what you have to follow. So you've got to stop thinking, you've got to start knowing. It's got to be in here. It's got to be inside you. It can't be in here. You've got to live, breathe, and eat and shit this stuff, if that makes sense. I'm trying to keep...
Yeah,
it
definitely.
like that.
With the PMAs and the analogy of the gangsters in the speakeasies, would the speakeasy be the PMA and then the drinkers would be the members of the PMA?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So I guess in you know, if
Just remember, international law is corporate law. You're in the same sandpit. You're playing the same sandpit rules in corporate law. International law is made up of treaties by corporations pretending to be countries.
It's still superior to Commonwealth and state law, and that's what makes the difference. You're walking in with a bigger bat.
Well, state law is corporate law as well.
It's all corporate law.
Well, yeah,
Well,
it is, but it's supposed to be federal law, but they've corporatized that too.
Everything is corporate law. You're playing in their sandpit. It doesn't matter how they want to dress it up. They're just putting it up. They can change those laws as they see fit, which is what they've been doing for the last 200 years in this country. If we get wind of something, all of a sudden they go and put a bill through and they change the bloody rules. So we lose out again. You're just chasing your tail, following in their system. What you got to do is you've got to get your property out of the system so that you, the living man, own the bloody property, because it's all trust law. Trust law is superior to PMA. Living in equity is the superior law. Equity. It's trust law in equity.
Michael, getting property out of the system, if the property's mortgaged, I'm guessing you've got a much harder job of that.
Well, it's more difficult, yes, but it's not impossible. Do you realise that the mortgage you've taken out, it's not a loan. You never borrowed money in the first place. So how can someone give you money when they never lent it to you? That's fraud.
I love your face, Murray.
I mean,
It's the only reason I'm saying that. The only reason I'm saying that is because I think at some stage, I'm going to say, at some stage, I was exactly like you, right? And you're thinking, hold on, but I borrowed money to actually buy a house. right? But when you understand, you didn't borrow money, you just borrowed a debt. You just took on a debt. You
It was an
personally took on a debt.
IOU. And guess who paid it? You did.
You did.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
You're not the debtor.
I understand the mechanics of the
You
transaction
credit.
and the
Your
digital.
autograph. Your autograph created it.
That's
But
it.
with your real estate, what Royal Registry is doing now is we got members in the Royal Registry in the same boat as you, sorting out this debt problem, writing that off with the bills of exchange. And then when it's free from the lender's securitization with the land title office, when they remove the name, the secured name of the title, the Royal Registry then litigates to have the title removed from the corporate land title office, and the property is sold to you, the living man, who is a registered member of the Royal Registry, because you've got a trust there and everything's coming into your trust. The Royal Registry is only accommodating your trust. It's the trustee looking over and protecting your private trust. It's your trust, not the Royal Registry's. It's just there protecting it, just like the Royal Crown's supposed to be protecting every one of us as its subjects, we the people, united as one. Remember in the preamble?
Yep.
That's where you are now. You're in with the Royal Registry. You're in there. You're in the preamble is your life. The Constitution 1901, that's not for you and me. That's not for us to be governed by. It's an operations manual for our civil servants to follow. That's what they're supposed to be following, that as a rule of how to conduct civil service. For us, we're the beneficiaries. They're the trustees. Every decision they make in civil service is for our benefit. Well, it's supposed to be. Every bit of mineral coming out of the ground, all the chooks are exported and slaughtered. It's for the community to enjoy. It's for us, the benefit, to sustain our lives. That's what it's about. But they turn that all around. We're just cows or sheep in the paddock, feeding away, getting fat and lazy because the government's doing and making all the decisions for us, taking over all our personal possessions, the whole lot. And then when we get too bloody old, they want to knock us off. That's what it is.
It's hard to get your head around, Murray, but it's, again, it is. It's still, even for me, right? Even for me, and Michael will laugh at this, I've been talking about doing the Royal Registry for a long time, and yet I've even had the fear around it, and I'm thinking, how can I, right? What do I need to do, right? So are you in, where are you from, Murray?
I'm at the
What
base
state?
base of the Blue Mountains, just in Sydney.
So you're right next to me.
Okay, so
we're neighbours.
I'm currently working on the M7 M12 project, right? So I've got big contracts with New South Wales government and stuff like that. And and this is how bad our whole system is. I know this is a quick, slight diverse, right? But Transurban is a foreign company that's using Canadian superannuation fund to fund our road on the M7. I only found that out last week. So my question was to Transurban on Monday, why aren't we using an Australian super fund to fund our roads? Because this is the whole thing that our so-called parliament, right, I'm going to use the right word, is doing. They're getting rid of everything away from the Australian people, right? The slimmest bit of hope that I have seen in all of this in the last 4 years has been Michael with the Royal Registry to give it back to the people, right? And again, I've seen the comments in there. It's not about Michael Shields owning your vehicle or anything like that.
No one owns
It's
it. You
about
do.
having a registry so we are protected, that they can't touch. That's the difference.
Every country's in the same boat, because you
Yep.
said they were Canadian super funds. Why aren't they using that in Canada?
Yeah.
This is worldwide.
Yep.
The
It's
whole
a whole
world,
global fraud.
the whole world is in on this one big scam.
Yep.
They,
And so
They-
and again, I'll try and bring this back on topic, Kelly. How do we help the farmers, right? How do we help the farmers? And I've put it there. Understanding the basis of who you are and what power you have comes down to your knowledge. So that's why it's so critical in my view, at least, to know your trespass notice, right? To know your contract law, to understand the biosecurity and understand what they need to have to come onto your property. And if they don't have it, and you can rattle off, oh, under Section 318 of the Biosecurity Act, where's your written paper? Where's your writing to say what you're here for? Right? If you're not here, I'm going to charge you. I'm going to ask you to leave. I'm going to tell you to leave. If you don't leave, I'm going to charge you for trespass. That's how you empower yourself. Simple as that.
I'll explain what trespass is, the difference, okay? Coppers react on statute law. That's why they charge you. They send a bill, a fine or something, and there's always some sort of segment in there that says there's a penalty of sorts for the charges or the crime of, or whatever the case
Infringement.
is. Right? Infringement. And their system is designed so that you're the defendant, right? They summon the defendant to court. Well, as far as they're concerned, you're already guilty. You're in court now as a defendant. You have to prove you're innocent, right? With trespass, it works the other way. With trespass, you make a civil claim for damages because they trespassed on your body, your property, and your freedom because it's common law. So you do a tort suit against the individual and his employer for trespassing on you. When it goes to court, you've made your claim, you're the claimant, but it's the only time a claimant doesn't have to prove anything. They have to prove they didn't, and they could never do that because otherwise you wouldn't be in court suing them in the first place.
Yeah,
And
that's an
that's
interesting point. It goes back to, you know, is the gate opened or closed?
Yeah.
So,
when you take them to court under trespass, you're taking them to common law court. There's no jury. There should be. All courts must have jury, but they don't run that system. There's no point arguing with it. You're going to lose every time. What you do is you take them to court through trespass, and the Supreme Court is the place to do it. Forget clown school. Your magistrate and your district, forget them. They're only contract. They're traffic courts. That's it. They're not even real judges. They're the Star Chamber bloody quorum crap. They just only deal with contracts. Everything they go through there, they deal it as a commercial contract that's been breached. It's got nothing to do with the bloody doing 30 Ks over the speed limit, mate. It's got nothing to do with that. It's because one claimant is claiming you didn't pay something that you should have. That's why you're in court. It's about the money, because they're banks. They operate like banks. You go to Supreme Court, you do a civil claim for damages in the common law court system, their department or division where you're in court. Now, all of a sudden, you're dragging them to it. They're in trouble. That's why 9 out of 10 cases are settled out of court. They can't afford to take it into the court because you'll set precedent. So they'd rather pay you off at the step of the court. They don't want precedent. That's how you control common law. That's how you control these assholes. And when you fill these courts up with civil claims for damages, when people start standing up saying, I've fucking had enough of this, I'm suing their ass, and doing it, then their court system's so choked, the money stops. If they use bills of exchange, the money stops. The state revenue will shut down because they can't collect. They're already illegal. They're actually illegal. They're acting judiciary and they have no judicial power. They cannot offer capital punishment. There's so many things wrong with their system. It's beautiful because we can navigate around it and use it to our advantage. But if you stand there and you want to argue like a belligerent fool and just argue about what they're trying to do to get on your property and steal your chickens and do all this, mate, you only got yourself to blame because you didn't educate yourself enough. There's not a lot to learn. They don't have a contract with you. So straight away, you're trespassing them. No, I'm here because the government sent me and they got the power. What government would that be? The corporate government. or the crown, the government, who's sworn an oath to the royal crown, which I'm a subject of. My jurisdiction's protected under the Royal Crown of England, the Common Law of England. I'm not an Australian citizen. I'm a royal subject. You don't have to be
you shouldn't say you're not. You might get deported. You should say prove that I am a citizen, or prove that I'm not. Let them make the claim, and we counterclaim it.
And it's always questions. And usually the paperwork that they got, half the time they don't even turn up with it. They're so belligerent. They think that just having a bloody badge on their shirt is enough for you to put fear into you and cower. And that's all it is. It's threat within. This is the sum up of the whole system. It's threat with enforcement, demanding money with menace, to enrich themselves by deception. And that is exactly the world we live in. And that's all it is. It doesn't change from that. Everything's about the money you have in your pocket. They want it. And they make up any excuse to pin the tail of the donkey onto you so you pay. Until you learn your unalienable rights, until you learn who the hell you really are. And that is, you're not that name they keep referring you to. It's their property, not yours. And never sign anything, because you don't bloody have to. If they have to force you to sign, then it's null and void, everything. A contract has to be fully disclosed and in agreement with both parties with wet ink signature. Every bill you get in the mail, have you ever noticed no one's put their name on it and signed it? No one's. So it's not a bill, is it? It's just a piece of paper you can wipe your butt with. That's all it is. But they want you to believe you have to pay money on it. No, you don't. Because the country's broke. The only legal tender is bills of exchange, like a check. But you don't pay the trust they created from your birth certificate. It has to pay. That's why it was created in the first place. So you didn't have to pay a damn thing. It was there to create, to sustain your life as the beneficiary of that trust. And the beneficiary is the living entity. Without the living entity, that trust doesn't exist. They can't create it. That's the quick course in what it's all about. But really, if you understand, it's threat with enforcement, demanding money with menace, so they enrich themselves by deception. And that's, if you understand that concept and how their system works around that, then all of a sudden, the world's your oyster. All of a sudden, you see all the problems and you can combat. If you can see the problem, you can fix it, right?
Mm.
They got us educated and brainwashed. We all have Stockholm syndrome. Every one of us on the planet is suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Some are worse. The worst ones are the ones walking around with their face nappies on still. They're the worst cases. They're lost cause. You can forget them. No more. They've done. They're finished. No point saving them. Right? But that's Stockholm syndrome.
So, Michael, with just a hypothetical, say you yourself didn't know what you know, you're only coming into it now, and you own a commercial egg farm that has a commercial egg license. I don't know what that contract looks like because I don't have a commercial egg farm myself. I'm just thinking in terms of my farmers that I work with. They obviously have this agreement, and we've got the trespass laws, et cetera, what we've gone through tonight. In terms of steps, I'm guessing you'd have to make that contract null and void, because that contract surely would have provisions for legal trespassing, if that's
even as a person, like their public trust that they created, that fiction entity they want you to be and live, right? It owns all the properties, part of that SESQV trust. So even your car, it's part of the estate, the assets of the estate that's in the SESQV. That's why they keep coming to you to take your shit, because they won't go up into the cloud and grab that bloody hundreds of millions of dollars you've got sitting up there, because they want to keep that for themselves. They've got to come to you and say, look, you owe us $10,000 and that car over there looks like it's worth 10. I'm taking that, thank you, because you have a debt you have to pay. But it's not your debt. It's the fiction they created. It's their debt. With your farmers, what they need to do is get all the assets in their person's name must come into their living name. So when those clowns come, those other persons with uniforms, badges, guns, whatever, when they come, they can't touch a damn thing because none of it is in the name of your public trust. It's all private, in the private trust.
And how do you transfer the name?
Royal Registry.
Okay.
You join, what you do is with the Royal Registry, it's like you join, there's a membership fee, right? You got to set up a private trust. In that private trust, we use your family crest. If you know England, everyone over there, House of Lords. Yeah, there's 100 there's 100 in the House of Lords. All are of the house of. So if you're going to use your surname, separate it from your given names. Your parents gave you the given name. That's your name. Your surname's not yours. So if you're going to use the surname, separate it of the family Smith or of the house Smith. Because back in the day, when all this started, they would have the family crest on the horse carriages or the family crest on the leathers on strapped around the horses, or even on your sword or your badge or whatever uniform you had the family crest on it. Outside the main gate of your house had the family crest on. That told everybody the Smiths lived there, all the Smiths, not just one, all the Smiths, because it can't be Mr. Smith, because it could be a son, father, and grandfather. So there's no distinguishing entity of which of the Smiths are. That's why it's the family of. So when you look at the House of Lords in England, they have to be land lords. That's why they're lords, land lords. We're all landlords. If we own land under the royal crown, we're landlords. It's a title under statute, but it's protected by the royal crown, who granted all of us self-governance. We're a colony of England. We're not Australia, or whatever you want to call it. We're none of that rubbish. We're a colony of England. And we're a subject of the crown. But it being a subject of the crown doesn't mean you're its slave, because the house and whatever you got doesn't mean they own it. What it means is he's there to protect you so your shit isn't stolen from an invading force or some corrupt corporation. That's what it's all about.
Now, Michael, I'm gonna just hold you there for a moment, because this is we're in gold, and everyone knows this is such gold, and we can't cover it all in one night. There's lots of questions coming in, but I do want to thank StevenLivingman for being here tonight. You've been a champion. We really appreciate you. You do want to come back in 2 weeks' time. I am speaking with Talia Sweeney from the Living Council, and so we will go into more of this, how to go through this process about living in the private. But Michael, for those who are on tonight, we want to know how to contact you. Can you put into the chat your contacts, and so that people can follow you? Steve, if you want to do the same, or Murray, put your contacts in so people can know how to follow you, and then I will add that to the links when I post up this video as well. And then the 30th of July, so we're doing this fortnightly, the last fortnight in July, we're going to actually talk about how to protect ourselves, our health, when they're trying to poison us from the air and the water and the food. And we're going to have a interactive night. It's going to be really interactive, where you get to put in, everyone has their ways of actually living healthy, and someone might have a way of protecting their water or their food or their produce, whatever. So come on that night, and as you enter in your comments, it'll all come up on the screen so that everyone can see the comments at one, and even the recording, it'll all be shown, not just in the chat, because I know people watching the recording don't get to view the chat, and it's been fabulous. But I can put the transcript up so that you will be able to see that when you're watching this recording. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. I do understand, you know, it is a big topic. We are going to come back and touch on this again. Thank you, Murray, for being the face of the farmers. And I know you kind of feel like you're copping the heat a little bit, but you're asking amazing questions.
It's been great, and I'll stick around after you wrap up, and I can talk a bit more about the affected farms. Some of it's really interesting, actually. There's a bit of a conspiracy with that. So if anyone wants to stick around for a few more minutes.
Yes, well, happy to do that. But I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's got on tonight. I know people are needing to drop off, and that's quite okay. Bruce.
Murray, I was just going to ask one quick thing. Are you any clearer, or are you a lot more cloudier after the 2 hours tonight?
Look, I think there's a couple of different tacks. It's about working out which one's going to fit better, you know. There's obviously a lot of nuance, so I just need to do more research.
Thank you. That is the biggest key to the whole thing, is about getting the knowledge and what you're going to feel comfortable with. And I've just been looking at some other, you know, farmers that have been posting in the chat. It's the hardest thing is to actually break the fear. Like someone who's got 200,000, how's it, 200,000 chickens or 200,000 eggs or whatever.
One of my farmers would have close to 200,000 chickens. Yeah.
Okay. So I can actually feel the anxiety around that, about what I'm going to do. Now, I have, unlike Michael, I have seen the news, right? And to see, you know, a chicken farm in the Hawkesbury have a semi-trailer where they're just scooping chickens into the back of a semi, right? I reckon it'd take 2 semis or 3 semis, and that'd be the end of your chickens, right? And then what? There goes your livelihood. There's nothing that can do anything like that. But it says in the Biosecurity Act that there's compensation for that. And they've got to pay. The government's got to pay. So they're going to do something to you, they've got to pay, right? And all you have to do is basically understand and know what you're entitled to. So again, I know it's so hard, and what Michael's saying is true, right? What you're feeling and what I go through, how do you actually just let go of everything that you know, and they come and take it, then what? So the best thing the only thing I can say to you guys is empower yourself and read the Biosecurity Act or any other bits of legislation that they come up with. And don't be, as Michael says, don't be belligerent. Don't argue with them. Just say, show me the information to help me. And if you can't do it, I'm going to stop you right there, and you're not going to come onto my property. You've got to think of something without being belligerent, without arguing with them, and you've got to empower yourself. That's the best. That's the only, I hate giving advice, but it's the only advice I can give. Right? Empower yourself. That's the best way.
And if you can't think of anything else, no comprehende the English, I don't speak. Buy yourself some time and get someone else who can talk about it. Yeah. There is no way that any bees would have been harmed on my watch if it came to it, and why should they touch us? So I will get this recording up, everybody, and it's been fabulous. I will say I think this information, just like what Michael was saying, not everybody had the stomach to say no to the jab, right? And I looked in my own family, and there were people in my own family. I think, do you know what? You probably did the right thing in taking it, because I know that to have the wherewithal to be able to go through that I guess some of us went through some persecution through that time. You have to have a bit of a stomach for it. And I would say the same with this. It is for everyone and it's not for everyone. You have to prepare yourself to be able to go through these processes. And at least, you know, it's going to start with the people who are in the freedom community. And that's where we have to level up in our own spirituality, in our own conviction to be able to take this on. And that's why I was talking to my uncle this afternoon, who was very well versed in this. He said, look, Kelly, it'd be really easy to someone to say, here, just tick this box and do this and do that. But you can't have someone else do it for you. You have to be the one to be able to not only take on the language, but take on the persona of what it, I always liken it to Star Wars. It's the Jedi Knights. You know, you have to become the Jedi Knight, and then you're able to wield that saber with power. And that's where it comes from in here, and that's what Bruce is talking about.
It's hard. It's hard. It depends, and it all depends on how you feel and what you think you're about to lose. But I think that it's inevitable that we're going to all lose something at some stage, and it's about when is enough going to be enough for you, and that's what it comes down to. How far are you going to go? Michael's had enough. He said, bang, this is it. I'm not doing anymore. And he's made a decision. Steve's done the same. I haven't made that decision yet. I haven't gone all in to actually say I've had enough yet. I'm still fighting the fight when I should just say, don't be stupid. Just go for it. Right. But again, I still have that fear. So I just want you to know that it's tough. It's tough. And even to the point where even to the point where my wife has actually tried to stand up to, and this is going to sound, again, it's the same principle, stand up and try and save a dog. The RSPCA is supposed to look after and protect animals and that, and they're being belligerent, and you try and report a crime to the police and she gets told that if you don't move, you're going to be arrested to try and report a crime. So I get firsthand real experiences what happens, right, on the front line. But do we give up, or do we try and find another way, and do we learn from the experience and try and put it back onto them? And that's the hard thing. So Murray, I'm right with you, right? Michael's at a different level to me, and I'm still learning how to get out of it, but I'm fighting on both sides. So all the farmers out there, I can't see all of you. I'm with you.
It's
right?
not that difficult. There's nothing wrong living in the corporate world as one of their slaves. There's nothing wrong with it. Just
Yes, there is. I pay too much tax.
No, the tax side of it, you don't have to pay. We already fixed that in the private. So what you do have, there are some benefits being a slave to the corporation that you want. Medicare, a passport.
I don't want that. I don't trust them.
You'll now, yes, but I'm just making a point. You know, there are benefits that you might like to enjoy. Even in business, there might be some benefits doing business with a particular another corporation, and it's mutually beneficial. That's fine. Do that. But if it's a fine or a toll, council rate, a bill that you don't, it's not even addressed to you. Why are you paying somebody else's bill? I don't know. But in those sort of, then you don't want to be party to that. There's a fence and there's two sides that you can live on both sides.
Yeah.
But the corporations can only stay on one side of the fence. That's the key. Right? They can't come over the fence to the living because they can't see, hear, or do business, even communicate with the living. It's impossible. They're like dead entities. That's why when you summon, they're summoning the dead to court. It's summons. That's where the word came from. Summoning the dead. Why are they summoning the dead to court? Because you, the schmuck, turns up and says, that's me. I'm the dead one. because you called me Mister. Yeah, that's me. Well, then all the fines and all the punishments that are going to that dead entity that they summon, that's you going there. You're paying its time. You're paying its fines, and you're going to prison for it as well.
You agree?
That's the system.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, and this is and another classic event was I didn't pay personal tax for 2 years. Did my company tax, but then I chose not to pay that either. God, that was okay. But when I came to sell the house, right, part of doing the exchange with the conveyancer, they held 12.5% until I did my tax return. Right. So, and it was quite a substantial amount of money. It was over $400,000. So I spent $400 to do my tax return. So I still fold at times. Right. I choose the fights that I fight. But again, yes, I can see with Ray, tax is easy to sort out. Yes, Michael, tax is easy to sort out. But I just want you to know that I still have the fear, right? But I'm still learning to actually play with it. So I'm no master, and that's why I probably sit on either side. So I just want you to know that just because I'm here talking about it, I just want you to know that I'm still learning at the same time.
Being royal registered,
we have that.
Being royal registered, if you buy property, you don't pay any of the stamp duty.
Yeah, but someone's got to buy it, Michael.
No. If you buy it, if you buy real estate as a royal registered, you don't pay any corporate taxes.
Okay, but what about when I sell it?
The GST, if you sell it, you don't, if you're royal registered and you're selling property, you're not paying anything. Only the straw, the person, the public trust, their slave, if they buy your house, they pay everything. It's got nothing to do
I'm
with
going to have to buy another house and try this shit out. That's it.
You're a royal subject. You're a landlord. You don't pay anything that the corporate government says you have to pay. It's their system geared so that you don't have choice because you don't learn. You don't know what your choices are. If they said, well, listen, you're buying this property. If you're a person, you're our slave, and there's all these costs associated with, and then you're buying the property as a royal subject, and there's no costs associated with it, that's full disclosure. So you'd pick the one as a royal subject, wouldn't you? You wouldn't go out of your way to pay all those additional. The whole system's designed so they bleed you dry. They steal every spare penny you got. That's why you got 2 jobs.
Enslavement.
Now, Murray, did you want to share your information on the
recording? So just there's a few interesting things I've come across recently with this egg debacle. One of them, pointing back to what Bruce said earlier, there is a compensation plan, but what I've been told is 70% is funded by the government, 30% is funded by industry. So the other egg farmers who aren't impacted, their levies are going to go up the next year to cover. So if you look at it through an inflation lens, cost of living, etc., it's all going to cost more money in the future. Another interesting thing, when the pandemic happened, what happened with the egg industry was that a lot of the big companies who had contract growers, so a lot of the big companies, they've got their own farms, but they also contract people who have got sheds. And I might have a shed, say, and I contract to, say, farm eggs. And I provide my shed, my electricity, my labor. They provide the birds and the feed. A lot of those contracts got torn up when the lockdowns happened because there was no tourism, there was less people in the country, et cetera, et cetera. Most of those farms never started up again. People are using those sheds. People are using those sheds now to store classic cars and stuff like that. So we were already low on eggs. So that's another interesting point. The next interesting point is I think every state's different, but New South Wales, I think, is going to quarantine some of these farms for up to 6 months. And then it takes a chicken about 20 weeks to lay a good egg. So you add 6 months with 20 weeks, you've got a significant amount of time. So if you can get your own chickens, it's probably a good idea.
If they're doing it really to make money, essentially the bottom line, then does that mean that they might not necessarily go after the private chickens like we all think that they did, like with the bees. It might be a slightly different scenario play out.
Yeah, every state has got different rules on the culling, I believe, and they put in different radiuses. So, you know, by proxy, you might lose your birds because you live close to one of these farms. But, you know, if it is just about pushing the prices up, you know, keep fueling this inflation, and it's less about, you know, depopulation, globalism, etc., then yeah, I would see that as good news, you know, for backyard chicken farms. On
one hand, bad, good news on one hand. Now, I know it's late and I know people have to go. I want to thank everyone for jumping on tonight, and it's been awesome to unpack. I know for a lot of us hearing about it, it's very overwhelming, but we do appreciate, Bruce, all your experiences and you know, relating to all of our concerns and where we're at, and Murray sharing with us the insight of that, of the farmers and what they're facing. Stephen, we appreciate him as well, and of course Michael with his wealth of knowledge. Do jump onto the LIP, the Living in Private, on Telegram. You can find out more about his program there. He also has a website and so forth. But join us again in 2 weeks where we're going to pull apart more of this living in private with the Living Council. So stay tuned for that. Thanks, everyone. You're awesome. It's lovely to see you all. Have a good night.
I'm Kelly Wilkins from My Self-Reliance. Welcome to the My Self-Reliance Expo 2024. We are so excited for you to come and experience our speakers, workshops, and store holders. There is so much in store for you today.
It's beautiful, absolutely stunning. It's going to brighten up any room, right? Absolutely stunning. Going once, going twice, sold. $15 right now. Simon's winning. Sold. Well bought, man. Well bought.
If you like what you've seen here, come to our My Self-Reliance Festival. Save the date, 18th to the 20th of October. We'll see you here.